Now then, this is Home Life Sustained 12B. Yeah, we've sort of changed the title, see how it reflects the way that things are changing. As in, the lockdown is easing very gently, but we're still on a sustainable level and trying very much to keep our footprint, our energy and carbon footprint, to a minimum. So we've got more on the windows project. We're getting round to doing the painting, and then we've got some vintage electrical that I'm playing with. It's something that Steve Upton donated a while ago, and it's taken a bit of thought to work our way around to where we're going with it. And also at the end of that little session there's a bit of potted history of various bits and pieces. Then, if you remember, 2 or 3 videos ago, I was showing you a mower, electric mower, that had a problem. I didn't show it running, but I just said we needed to work on that. Well, I sort of got carried away and got it fixed, and then realised, well, we'll have to do an update video. And then, of course, at the end of the video we have more exercises. So yeah, those people are not interested in the technical stuff. Yeah, we've got the gardening and the exercises in general sustainability, and then we got the technical stuff and the repair stuff. So let's hope you enjoy this. Now then, this is the tub that I make the tomato feed in, which is basically horse poo and wood ashes and a load of water. And yeah, the tomatoes now are over 2 foot high. So it just goes to prove that feeding them with a natural manure, as it were, or feed, really works well. So we'll just crack on with this. So I emptied this tub previously. And some wood ash, and then we'll just put loads of water in there, and I'll go and get some of that comfrey from just down the road and throw a few pieces of that in as well. And in a week's time we should start getting some liquid feed, which is great, and it really does make a huge difference. So we're on with this window project, and these are the casements, and of course this is the first coat, the primer coat. And then of course I will sand this down and then give it 1 or 2 coats of undercoat and then several top coats. So yeah, I don't rush this job. It could actually take me weeks, doesn't really matter. And I've ordered the double glazing units, And then they went, when do you want them? I said, when do you want to supply them? And they go, end of next week? Fine. There's no rush. No point putting stress on people. Anyway, I shall get on with this. You know, this takes a few hours to dry, so I shall sand these casements down probably tomorrow when I get round to it, and then start the next process. I've already done the underside and I've just flipped it over. So I'll crack on with that. Now then, you may have seen this kicking about in the back of the tractor shed on the last few videos, and Steve Upton donated this, and it's a bit of oldish electrical stuff, and it's been kicking around somewhere for a good long time because a lot of the steel fixings have rotted into the timber to the point where you can't undo them. However, inside, and I think we better zoom in, there was a switchboard which I was able to remove because it wanted gluing together, and then inside here, and the hinges are just about moving, there is some old porcelain fuses, but they're all very burnt. Something quite nasty has happened at some point. Anyway, so I was thinking of a way of sort of displaying or using this, and the nice bit, as you will see in a moment, was hidden really, and also if you would fit this on the wall it would stick out quite a long way. So this is, I think it's going to have to go into storage for awaiting inspiration, put it like that. I mean, it's a nice enough case because it's dovetailed together, etc. Just out of simple pine, and this is plywood, so obviously this has been added at a later date, and they've done a stopped bevel there so that this can open far enough, so it seems. Anyway, so that's waiting inspiration, but let's have a look at the truly delightful bit that was inside. So here we are. I've laid it on the workshop floor, and so we've got all these quick throw Bakelite switches and this isolator, but then you've got these really pleasant labels. Focus, there we go. Vestibule. So this wants cleaning up. There was a big split across this board. You could just about see the remnants of it there. See that line there that goes behind that switch? There was a big split across there, and it was filthy with dust. It was an original joint because there were wooden dials across it, but obviously over time the glue, and I suspect it was animal glue, and because this has been kept in a very damp place over decades probably, that had all come apart, and here we are, E. Beale Electrical Engineers, Eccles. So you can't see the Eccles really. Let's just change the angle. There we go. So to clean this up, I think a cloth and some white spirit might very well do it. Let me just show you these switches. These just undo, and there we are. 3 terminals. Okay, and then let's have a look at the isolator. And I did eventually get this undone, although it took quite a bit of time because the bolt was spinning like that, you see, and it was rusted virtually solid. Now these switches, when it's on, you can't open this. Unfortunately the fuses are missing, but never mind, because we're really talking about electrical steampunk here, aren't we? Although I do like to use these type of switches wherever possible. Don't do it too tight. What does that say? BICL Limited, Prescott. There we go. So I'm just going to use a bit of white spirit, which is a paint thinner type general cleaning. And let's just gently clean these up, and hopefully the colour of this mahogany will appear out of the muck. These are cleaning up a bit. You see all the muck that's coming off. I was a little bit nervous to start with, not put too much pressure on in case it the white spirit did any damage. But I think it'll take quite a while to get the full glory of this again, and to bring back this Bakelite. So I'll probably need 2 or 3 goes on it, but as I've said with painting the windows, we have the time. Yeah. We don't have to worry about our second home or our yacht or all that sort of nonsense. We can enjoy just doing this sort of thing because we can. I'm going to leave you with that, and I'll just crack on with it. So I've decided to try and wash these, so I'll take them all off, put them in the bowl with some detergent and wash them gently. But thank you, Steve, for this. It'll give me hours of enjoyment, and then at some point I'll see what other old electrical gear I've got and put it together and hang it somewhere in the workshop. Then at least it's on display and it's not hidden in that that case, which you know, it's not immediately to eye. But I've just noticed here, and we'll just zoom in, it shows the state of these steel fixings. See how the steel is starting to flake, and it actually rots into the timber. When I was doing, it was a few videos ago, when I was selecting the timber for the glass house door, and I had a big lump of 3 by 8 or something like that, only about sort of 4 foot long, but I was wanting to use that, but it came from Uncle Harold's, and there were some cut off nails that had actually started to rot into the timber. So even if you remove the nail, there's all this rusty, rotty material in the nail hole. And this is just how these are going. There comes a point where they just won't move. But luckily we don't have to remove this bit. And that started to clean up a bit, you see. So we'll just put these back on, and then I've got a little bit of wax here, so we'll just go around this and brighten that up a bit. Now I'm not sure about this. I don't want to end up with loads of yellow wax showing through, but I think actually might have to use a toothbrush on that just to, but that's looking better already. So I'm just going to go around that and brighten that up. A little bit on that. Yeah, that's looking so much better. And you can even see now it's shining there. Yes, so brilliant. Right, I'll just wait inspiration on this thing. So I've come across this in my piles of stuff. I think that's suitably old enough. And let's come round here. And I think that maybe we could have that there. And that will match that then. So we need to make a mounting for this that's unobtrusive. So searching and amongst all my bits and pieces, we've come across this mahogany faced plywood, and I've drilled a couple of holes, and that'll go through there, and that'll bolt down. And then if I cut that line, then the only bit that will show will be a little bit there and a little bit there, which we can darken down. So let's just give that a go. Right, so I've got that mounted on there, and we just need to darken this up a bit gently. Let's just put a little bit of wax on that timber there. Might want darkening up a bit more. Yeah, I won't put any wax on that side. I'll probably have to darken it up a bit more. Anyway, there you go. Let's just stand that up and have a look. So there you go. What do you think? I do like those labels. I like them a lot. They've cleaned up sufficiently. Yeah. Vestibule. That one says outside. But then there are other ones that are just odd. Like that one there. 4LT. Never mind. And of course the amp meter. I've done something with it. The case will just have to go up in the loft and wait for inspiration, but at least I've done something with this and I can appreciate it and other people can. It can go on the wall somewhere. Speaking of which, I was looking at a place to put it and I noticed a poster that I must have put there. Oh, the late 80s. Let's go and have a look. I've got a light coming from way over in the workshop, so we've got things in the way. So this is the forerunner of Witchwood Brewery. It was based in Witney, Oxfordshire. The Glennie Brewery Company, and that is Paddy Glennie. There you go. That's a long time ago. And then just coming round here, and we're going to go into the dark, so the camera might not pick this up quite so well. This is some of the plans that we used to use. Just get these through the post. There's even some of my writing on there. Floor to floor, floor to ceiling. Bit of history there. Right, that'll do. So now that the really bright sunshine's gone, it's a bit easier to film. But I'm sorry to say that I fixed this mower and I got sort of a bit carried away and forgot about filming it. So there you go. Each of us can suffer from enthusiasms. It is unplugged. Now then, let's have a look. There's the motor, but there is the top of the blade shaft. So there's a multi-V belt. You know, the flat ones with the really little V's on it. Between the motor and the pulley on the motor is about 1 inch. And the pulley on the rotor shaft, which is about 3 inches. So there's a bearing. Let me have a look. There's the bearing. Okay, so there are 3 screws from underneath, and you undo those, and then this whole lot, it takes a bit to get it apart actually, but that whole lot comes out, having taken off the blade, etc, etc. And the problem, and I'm just going to turn this over and then you can see, the problem was this bearing here. Now we've got a nut and a washer. Let's undo it. I think that's 12. It is. We are unplugged, just for those nervous types. There we go. As you can see, I've greased everything up, and as you can see, I've road tested it. Right, so there's a little moisture guard. I put loads of grease in there, but the problem was that the bearing here had seized up, and when you use the mower, basically that bearing was eating its way through this plastic here, going this way. So once I got it apart and the bearing out, I had to fill in all that area that had been melted away with epoxy resin, araldite, and I put it all in there and stood the mower upright like this with a bit of paper on the outside to hold the araldite in place. I left that for 24 hours and then ground the araldite away so that the bearing was a push fit. It's a bit agricultural, but it seems to work. And then I went to my box of bearings and found another bearing that was the same size, and popped the rubber seals out and put some more grease in. And the other problem was that this shaft at some point had been turning in the original bearing, so it was slightly smaller. So I had to go round the shaft near the shoulder in there with a centre punch and gently punch all over the surface. Punch, 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 and you get that sort of effect just there. And of course that makes it slightly bigger, and then the bearing was just a good fit. So I put it all back together and I'm quite pleased that it's fixed, but I'm really sorry that I didn't video it. But there you go. Sometimes you just can't win. But it works now, and because I've done all the bearing and everything, it should do quite well. And this is the problem with all mowers when you try and cut wet grass. I've got another electric mower that seems to really work all right, but as soon as you hit anything slightly longer than about that, it slows right down and stops. And I think it's got a bad bearing as well, and I need to look at that before it gets any worse. Now then, okay, I'm just going to add this bit in because as I was describing how the belt drive happens, I was out of shot. Although this is, there we go, imagine this is straight across, so it's parallel. Okay, that is the pulley for the rotor. Okay, the rotor's here, there's a bearing there, and there's a bearing behind and a shaft that runs through. So the belt goes from here to there, that's the motor shaft. When this bearing's not here, when you've got this whole assembly without the bottom bearing, then it tends to do that with the belt. The belt pulls it round like that. So to be able to get this together, you want a reasonably good but not a tight fit for this shaft in this bottom bearing. Then you have to align that and then wiggle to get the spigots from the top case to lock into their housings. Hopefully that makes sense, because when I was talking about it I was out of shot and it made no sense at all. Just imagine there's a flat belt like that and there's no support here and there's a bearing there. It's bound to tip like that. There you go. This top case here, where the screws come through, there's actually a spigot stuck down, one there and one over here somewhere, and they go in little housings, so they lock this top piece in place. But you've got to put it all together and then wiggle it and almost get a lever behind it in places so that those little spigots go in the holes, and then that tensions the belt correctly. You've really got to want to put it back together, put it like that. If you're of a nature where you would give up easily, that's what you would do. But now it's perfect. And as long as I don't do lots of mowing in the wet, yeah, we'll be fine for quite a few years. And this is a 34 centimetre cutter, which is about, I don't know, 14 inches, and that's why it's got a belt reduction, because it's a slightly bigger cutter. But it's got plenty of power, and of course because it's got a reduction gear of about 3:1, then there's a lot more torque. Anyway, sorry I didn't video it, but it's done now. And of course we only need to mow the bits we need to mow, so leave the long grass for habitat. But when we do mow, of course it's with our own home generated power. So as I said before, recycling that mower has got no impact, and then running on home generated power, equally the same. So we'll just do a quick demo of this. It's actually quite a powerful mower. So there you go, and there's still time in the day to get on with something else. So this is one of the casements. I think this is the right colour. Yes, it is. I just need a stirring stick. So this has had primer, undercoat and one top coat, and then I've sanded it down again. Now I'm not brilliant at painting, but I do tend to like, especially if we've got an old cottage, I don't like a perfect finish because it stands out too much. So it has to match. You know, when you're doing fitting in an old cottage, you may very well pay attention to a level and stuff like that, but you've also got to see how the piece that you're working with fits in with the rest around it. If you put things perfectly level, sometimes they don't work because it stands out as something not natural to the rest of the environment around it. And I think it's the same with this, although that might be an excuse just for the fact that my painting's a bit rubbish. So I'm going to get on with this. As you notice, it's got two glazing bars. You think, why not one pane? Well, it matches in with the rest of the house. Okay, I'm just going to crack on with that. Okay, let's finish this video off with some exercises again. I've been asked to continue this by various viewers. So, just loosen the body up. Okay, then the first one obviously is cross the hands and up, stretching out, stretching all the way down here and across here. Okay, and down. I can't remember which way I did it. Let's do it that way. Cross the hands in the opposite way. and I can feel all sorts of little notches and noises in my back. Okay, 12 of those. Then the next one's this one. So we keep these elbows out and keep those hands like that and just raise up and pull the heels off the ground. So we're pulling the whole of the body. Okay, and a dozen of those. Alright, then we've got this with the head upright and this arm being pulled down to the ground. And the other way. And only 4 of those. Now, then you've got the rolling of the shoulders. 6 back, and it's a real forward, up, back and down. I'll only do 4, but it's 6 back and 6 forward. Yeah, we're really dealing with the shoulders and the back. A new one is put the arms like this and grab hold of the wrist like that. Yeah, and do that. Pulling this hand with that, like that. And then stay there and raise yourself up some more the other way. And then do it the other way. It's another way of stretching the whole of the body. Okay, so do that a couple of times. Then we'll just lower the camera a bit. And then you remember that if you need to, get some support and do this. 6 one way, 6 the other. And then the other side. Okay, now, you know, as we said, if you can't do very high, just still do it. Yeah, because each time you do it, it will get better. Right, there's another one. And it's literally, hold the knee like that and just go. You've got to be gentle now, because the knee is quite sensitive. So you're just rotating it very gently. Very gentle with that one. Okay, hopefully you'll find that helpful and interesting, and again, and the more you do it, the more flexible you get. Cheers for now.